Hi, 5th grade. Thanks for joining me again. We are talking today about lesson 95 of math. You need your math book. You need something to write with. You need to have read the lesson, and you need to have read the explanation on Jupiter. We're starting on page 494. Today we're talking about reciprocals. If we switch the numerator and denominator of a fraction, the new fraction is the reciprocal of the first fraction. So a reciprocal is just when you have a fraction and you flip it upside down. So the denominator becomes the numerator and the numerator becomes the denominator. When we do this, when we switch the numerator and the denominator, we say that we invert the fraction. So if you are asked to invert a fraction, it means you flip it over. The new fraction that you have created is the reciprocal of the first fraction. Whole numbers have reciprocals. Remember, if we write a whole number as a fraction, the whole number becomes the numerator and the denominator is always 1. So then when we make the reciprocal of the whole number, the numerator is always going to be 1 and the denominator is going to be the whole number. The product of any number and its reciprocal is 1. If you multiply a whole number by its reciprocal, you will get the product 1. The product of any fraction and its reciprocal is going to be 1. If you multiply a fraction by its reciprocal, the product that you will get is 1, usually once you've simplified. So let's do a little bit of practice. For practice set, our practice set is starting on page 496. Right? So for A through L, we want to find the reciprocals. And it says to leave the improper fractions as improper fractions. If we're being asked to find a reciprocal, it's because we need to use it as a reciprocal, not to simplify it into a proper fraction. So, A is 4/5. The reciprocal is 5/4. We flipped it over. B is 6/5. The reciprocal is 5/6. C is 3. So, if we think of 3 as a whole, 3 is a whole number. As a fraction, 3 is 3/1. So the reciprocal is 1/3. D is 7/8. The reciprocal, when we invert the fraction, is going to be 8/7. E is 3/8. When we invert the fraction, we will get the reciprocal 8/3. F is 5. So 5, we are going to turn into 5/1. The reciprocal, when we invert that fraction, is 1/5. G is 3/10. When we invert the fraction, 10 becomes our numerator, 3 becomes our denominator, and our reciprocal is 10/3. H is 5/12. When we invert our fraction, 12 becomes our numerator, 5 becomes our denominator, and our reciprocal fraction is 12/5. I is 2. 2 we will make into the fraction 2/1, and then we will invert that fraction, and we will get the reciprocal 1/2. J is 1/5. When we invert the fraction, 5 will become our numerator, 1 will become our denominator, and we will get the reciprocal fraction 5/1. Which is the whole number 5. K is 10. 10 we will make into the fraction 10/1. We will invert that fraction and we will get the reciprocal fraction 1/10. L is 1. 1 we will make into the fraction 1/1, and when we invert that, we get the reciprocal fraction 1/1. Question M asks, how many 3/5 are in 1? So when it asks how many 3/5 are in 1, it is the same as asking what is 1 divided by 3/5. So we talked before about how to divide fractions using our reciprocals. We didn't call them reciprocals, or maybe we did, I can't remember now. But we did talk about the process of it. So that's what we're going to do here. 1 is going to become the fraction 1/1. Division, we are going to turn into multiplication. And 3/5 we're going to invert and use the reciprocal 5/3. So then we have, instead of the division problem, 1 divided by 3/5, we have the multiplication problem, 1/1 times 5/3, which gives us 5/3. Right? We can leave this as 5/3 to demonstrate the reciprocal, or we can put this into a mixed number with a proper fraction, which would be 1 2/3. Okay. N is asking 1 divided by 4/5. So we're going to do the same thing. 1/1, division becomes multiplication, and we invert the fraction in order to use the reciprocal. That's how we divide fractions, is using the reciprocal. 1/1 times 5/4, 5/4, gives us 5/4. We can leave it as the reciprocal in order to demonstrate the reciprocal, or we can put it into a proper mixed number, which would give us 1 1/4. So you can do problem O, and you can demonstrate for yourself using any fraction and its reciprocal that the product, when you multiply those two fractions, is going to give you 1. You can demonstrate that with any fraction that you would like. So this has been lesson 95 of math. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you guys will join me here later for more math. Have a great day, guys.